Hey friends, today we are working on a 2011 Toyota, or rather Scion TC. Now this unit, what we're trying to do is figure out why the big door speakers won't work. And you'll notice we got three here. We got a tweeter, I guess what they'd consider a mid-range, and then the big one, the woofer, if you can call it that. I think it's an 8.5 by 6 or something. It's an odd size. Anyway, went ahead and checked the amp fuse, which is in here. And if you look on here, spin it over, you got your fuse layout right there, as you can see. Amp is the big boy right there, 30. Oh, come on, just had it. There we go. Top center. That guy, already checked it. It's fine. It's got power on both sides. Checked the fuse and checked to make sure it had power on both sides, just to make sure the connection wasn't bad all of a sudden. No issue there. If you've diagnosed it all, they say that these are run by the amp, which is actually under the seat. Now, somebody's messed with this one. It's got a custom interior in it. I don't know. I just bought the car used. But anyway, there's an amp under there. This is just aftermarket wiring for subs, I'm sure. Look at that. It doesn't even have anything connected there. But somewhere under there, there is an amp. And anyway, yeah, you can actually see it right there. You can kind of, sort of make it out upside down. But anyway, if you've already diagnosed it and you find your amp doesn't work, or everything's good there and you still can't get power to your wires, and first here I'll show you how to get at it. Turn this off. Now you've already diagnosed everything. You've made sure you didn't have any power at your speaker. You've already checked all the connections are good at the amp, and your fuse is good, and you still can't figure out what's going on. I just figured, you know what, I don't really care much anyway. I just want the speaker to work. I've got an aftermarket deck anyway. If you're curious about that, that is a 9-inch Android touchscreen with CarPlay off of Amazon. They're kind of tough to find anymore, the 9-inch. Most of them are 10-inch now, and if you get a 10-inch, you might not clear. You can see it's close. I didn't even order any bracket, kit, or anything. This is literally just pop it off. Here, I'll show you real quick, actually, if we can. Give me a second here, and we'll pop that off, and then we can show you. So yeah, you just kind of pull underneath there and work your way around, I suppose, just like that. Let's zoom out a bit. This one's got GPS and everything, so be careful. You can see in there, literally all I did is use a couple of pieces of tin that I cut out with some screws to mount into the factory holes down there. Tin. That's it. Works great, looks great. I just did a quick wiring job of it. I used male female splices there to make sure everything was wired up. Not much to it. You'd never know. You got to make sure your wires all clear. They're all where they're supposed to be. Click, click, click. That's it. It's mounted. It's great. It's not going anywhere. No wiggle. That actually, in my opinion, looks professional. But anyway, stereo works fine. Even with the factory unit, which I'll show you here now, I could not get those speakers to work. Pioneer rig right here. I could not get, there's the box that stereo originally came in. I could not get these speakers to work. So finally I gave up. I checked all the wiring, everything at the amp seemed to be in order. I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm just gonna bridge them. So to bridge them, not much to it, as you would expect. This panel right here just pops on. Just got some clips there that hold into place. Don't have to take it off in any particular order. Be careful, probably won't break it. This window switch here, that does go on. See, that hooks in up top. So you want to make sure that you don't just force it from the front. You got to pop it off in the back, because otherwise, pretty good chance you might actually break it. So anyway, you pop it off in the back, you pull it out that way. And then, of course, there's this little cover in here. Not much to it. I always pop it off from the back. So it sits in there like that. You'll see it. I just pop it off. Click there, pull it out the front. Not much to it there either. You can take a look at that. No particular areas it seems to clip into, but again, I would prefer pop it off from the back here. Start there on this end. And that's it. Then when you're in there, if you feel under here, you feel around and you can feel an opening. There's a gap right there. Just like that. You just wrench on that, pull the door panel out. It's just clips. You're going to have to unplug your speaker here. You just pull it off all around. This door doesn't even particularly up here as well. You want to pull this off. You can literally, I mean, I don't think I'm that much stronger than the average person, but you should literally just be able to just pull on this, grab it with your hands and pull it straight off. Just clips like that. Nothing to it. And then when you've got the door off, you just pull that, lift it, and then everything under here is simple. You just, in behind here, there's a clip. You got to push that in there. It's kind of a pain, but yeah, you push that in there, disconnect it. So I'm going to do that here now. Give me a second. And then when you've got that disconnected, make sure you're not missing anything. Put it aside, keep it in mind, that has to be plugged in order for any of your speakers to get any power. That is your tweeter, by the way. Sits in there. Mid-range sits in here. The only thing I could get to have any sound was the mid-range and the tweeter. And there, of course, is your woofer, so to speak. It's really just a big speaker. That key's annoying. Hopefully you can live with that beeping. I guess I can turn that off now because I don't need to show you anything more on the stereo anyway. And I can't play music while I'm on the phone, so while making a video. So what I decided to do, simply bridge it. From the mid-range, as far as I'm concerned, it's just another channel from the stereo, and it should be able to power it anyway, and it works fine. Sound is decent. Maybe it would have a little more bass out of the amp, but at least this way you know you can never overpower this speaker. Sounds good. It's got a good mid-range. It's got decent bass. I just used some shrink connectors here. Got in, used a piece of speaker wire, spliced it in there. Tried to splice it in a way that makes most sense, that the wire comes up rather than putting it in the bottom. Splice it in with the wires going down. And like that, that's it. Ran it, put it aside. Now my speaker works fine. Now I got way better sound quality in the car. So I'm not recommending you just bypass your amp, just to be clear. If you've diagnosed everything and you find out that your amp just does not work and you have no other way of making your woofers work or your main speakers work, but you want better sound quality because the sound quality is pretty crap without those speakers, or you're just lazy like me and you're never going to diagnose any further anyway, just bridge them. That's it. Works great. Sound quality is great. To reverse it, same thing. Just make sure your wires are where they need to be, both sides. Pop it out. Oh, and I guess I forgot to mention where the screws are, but you'll see that here in a second. I'll pop it back on, or actually I can just show you on the door panel. After you pull this clip off here, you've got the one screw there, one screw there, one screw there. They're all Phillips. These two are the same, and that one is by itself, and there's no screws in here. So it's literally just these three screws, if I remember correctly. I don't think I'm missing anything. And yeah, putting it back together, just go backwards from what you did, and there's nothing to it. Make sure you line this up, pop it back on. Make sure you don't just hammer on the door panel when you put it on. Make sure these clips are lining up. The other one kind of sits on top of here. Put it together, and now you got your main speakers working. Again, this deck here, it's a 9-inch Android touchscreen off of Amazon. Again, this particular model is hard to find. They weren't bad, actually. I think I paid less than $150 for this deck. Look around. 10-inch would come up a little higher. You'd have to get a little more creative. It would most likely sit on your hazard switch here, and it doesn't take much to get them hazards to come on, so maybe you wouldn't be able to put a bigger deck on there. I don't know. Maybe you'd get lucky. But yeah, you'd have to definitely get creative if you were going to try to put a 10-inch in here, I think. Or you might have to bring it out a little bit with some spacers or something in there, brackets. But again, I did not use an install kit. Just stuck it in there. Used those little mounting screws it has in the back with a couple of pieces of tin. I just took off of a piece of tin that I had laying around outside. And that was it. So now we got a decent stereo setup. Decent sound. I wouldn't mind putting some subwoofers back in, but we'll see how it goes. But anyway, quick unorganized video as always. But I just figured, I looked around everywhere. I couldn't find any way to get my speaker working again. This is what I finally ended up with after diagnosing everything. Hope this video helps. If you have any questions, ask in the comments. And as always, may God bless you.